I'd like you to welcome Elaine C Smith, star of stage and television. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. I'd like to reiterate that I'm actually here tonight as myself, not as my alter ego Mary Nesbitt, because she's emigrated to Norway. She's actually in Mallorca as we speak. She's in a hell of a chest complaint for quite a while. I'm actually quite moved by what's going on. I'm not going to do another half hour reiterating, but I think we could safely say we're all in agreement here about where we've got to and why we're here and why we're voting yes. And it seems to me, actually, I'm on the advisory board of the Yes campaign in Scotland, which is, we don't run it, we sit in and advise. There are different voices in there. As Tommy rightly said, the Greens are there, the Green Party are there, the SSP, Solidarity, as many of the different political groupings in Scotland, as well as the SNP, and people like myself who are not members of any political party. I left the Labour Party during the miners' strike, appalled. I was actually on the picket lines at Ravenscraig, I'd like to tell you, Tommy, and appalled by the behaviour of the Labour Party and what it didn't do to protect those industries. I'm actually quite moved today as well, apart from the fact this is the part of the world that I come from. I was brought up in Muir Hill, went to school in Motherwell, but a lot of the steelworks that you mentioned, my father worked in and his brothers worked in. And one of the things that depresses me the most about what is going on at the moment is the complete attack on the working class. The complete attack on working class values, that every person who's from my class, the class I was brought up in, is a scrounger, doesn't want to work, is a benefits cheat. And that dialogue, or that monologue actually, that has emerged from the right-wing press in London, is something that we really have to fight back against. Because I was brought up in a working class community. I know my father and his brothers would have died rather than not go to work. The people I was brought up with valued the ability and the chance to get out there and become a skilled worker and go into those jobs. Yes, there are scroungers, yes, there are people, but I'd like to say I've met more scroungers in the middle classes who are in golf courses most of the day than I ever met in the people that I was brought up with. There will always be. One of the things I also liked, as far as Alec was concerned, when he was talking about Iceland. And Iceland, if you hold Iceland up, everybody goes, oh, they had a terrible economic crash. Well, let me tell you, as Alex says, they're better off than we are now. And also they've recovered. And here's one of the things I love about it. They actually charged and jailed the bankers. They actually charged and jailed the politicians who were responsible for getting them into the mess in the first place. And that's the other part of the attack on the working class that I can't bear. Because what it's done is it's turned working class people against other working class people. And they've moved all the vision away from the people that cause it. One banker's wages, I mean one BBC executive's wages, as we saw last week, you know. Yes, he is my pal, I just gave him another 500 grand because he was getting made redundant. That offer wasn't made to anyone else within the BBC, I have to say. The secretaries and the cameramen and the camerawomen that were being made redundant, they were never offered that either. And that is part of my belief about the Yes campaign and where we're going. As Alex rightly said, this isn't about flags. We don't need to be told we're Scottish all the time. We know who we are. We are Scots. We don't have to, in many ways that argument was won many, many years ago. This is a debate and this is an argument, if you like, and I love the fact the great writer Peter Arnott describes Scotland as basically being an argument. Now, I love the fact that we're an argument, and that argument will continue even if we do become independent. The argument is what makes us who we are, the vibrant nation that we are, that actually engages. And one of the great things about this campaign is that for the first time in 20 years, people are engaged. They might be raging and they might be angry and they might be on the other side. But actually in Scotland, I don't believe the people on the no side are bad people. Well, some of them are, but not all of them. I don't. I believe that we actually all want to make this place better. All of us, whether you're in the Labour Party or the Tory, we just have different ideas of how to get there. And the main reason, the main difference is that now what has happened is that we know we have two stark choices here. The choice of whether we believe that Westminster will run this better for us, or whether the Scottish Parliament, government nearer, closer to the people, will deliver for the people who need it the most. That's why I'm voting yes, because I do not believe that the values that are portrayed in the British state, with the judiciary, with the BBC, with all those good. Now, I'm not anti-London, by the way. London's a fabulous city, a city I adore, and I've worked and lived for certain parts of my life there. But it is in control. All the power and control lies with those vested interests of those organisations, from the banks to the judiciary to the Parliament. They all know each other, they all work for each other, and the rest of Britain is ignored and left behind. We have an opportunity to actually do something different, to do it better for the people who need it the most here. There's been a lot of talk about the post-war consensus, if you like, that we had in Britain. I had a wonderful historian say the other day that actually the irony in all of this is that these pejorative terms, big word, but those sort of slagging off terms are, you know, it's separation, it's divorce, it's all of those what to make us scared of the tsunami of negativity coming about, how terrible it's all going to be, and we've all to be petrified. Actually, it is not Scotland that is separating from the notion of British values. It is the southeast of England and London who left the British values that Britain at post-war was founded upon. The welfare state, the health system, the fact that we were at that point all in it together. They have left the consensus, and they have left us with no choice almost but to say we want to run things differently. I agree with Alec that in actual fact Scotland has the potential to be a beacon of light. A beacon of light to the rest of the UK. And I know there are many of my friends in Manchester and Newcastle and Liverpool and in London who think the way many people here do about a different way of living. We talk about the type of society we want to live in. That's what this debate is about. What kind of world do we want to live in? I did the Radio 5 Live debate the other day, and there was a man, I was almost in tears at the end of it. There was a fantastic guy for the East End of Glasgow, and that's where I live, who had walked through the East End of Glasgow to get there. And he said, I'm looking at the figures, he said, I'm not in the SNP, I'm a socialist, I've never been in the SNP in my life. I don't have any chuck with that, you know, any sort of tap and stuff, that wasn't my journey. He said, but I'm out there canvassing and campaigning for yes, because I'm walking through and living in the East End where 1 in 3 children, 1 in 3, it's 1 in 5 in Britain, but 1 in 3 children are living in poverty. That's after 50 years of Labour being in power in the city, in the district, through the government, no change. Where life expectancy where I live along the road in Shettleston for men is 58 years of age. Not good enough. It can't be good enough that that is the type of world that we are passing on to our kids. Now for some people, it is better. Some people, their lives have got better. There's 30% of the population, and you go to London, the wealth is enormous. You can't believe the levels of wealth that people are actually living in. And in certain areas in Glasgow as well. And many of them are very scared about what yes would actually mean. If you've got the big pension, if you've been privately educated and you've got your kids are at the right private school and you've got a lovely wee holiday home in Portugal or whatever, and you're retired, why would you want to change it? Because it's worked out all right for you. My concern, and many in the Yes campaign across the board, is the other 70% of people that live here. And it is about a different set of values. I want to know, I've been fortunate in my life to be, you know, I don't like paying it, but I'm a high rate taxpayer, right? I pay those taxes because I want to be able to sleep in my bed at night and know that the kids along the road who don't have the opportunities that my children have had or whatever are looked after. That the disabled, the sick, the poor and the unwell, you know, they are actually looked after and cared for by the rest of us. That for me is what a civilised society is. It's been a long journey for me, because like Tommy and Alec and everybody on the platform here, I was of the left and coming to this journey. It's difficult. I know there are loads of pals who are in the left and in the Labour Party who find the notion, and actually their loathing of the SNP, which drives me crazy, the loathing of the SNP is actually worse than their loathing of the Tories. You cannot believe that. And I would like to say, for anybody here who's undecided, by all means look at the arguments, read the stuff. The information is out there, unless you want us to come round to your house with a spoon and give you, you know, it is all out there. You can find the information about the reasons for voting yes. But dear God, what depresses me more than anything is when people say, no, I'm voting no. Why are you voting no? I can't go that Alex Salmon. Drives me crazy. Shut up. We're not voting for Alex Salmon. We're voting for us. We're voting for a different way of doing things. That's why I'm voting yes. And it's a complete misunderstanding of democracy. In 2 years after the independence, there will be an election here. We could end up with a Labour government in Scotland if that's what the people actually want. And it's that message that wants to go out. But what we have found in the Yes campaign actually is, in all our private polling, is that when people engage in the debate, when people read and they engage in the arguments, they travel to yes. They travel from no to don't know to yes. And you'll see that what happens, and actually when you get to yes, lots of lights start going on. You go, oh yeah, oh right, oh we could do that, we could do it. And you actually, I don't say you're born again or anything like that, but there is a bit of that in there. You actually see the possibilities and your eyes open up to what is possible for this country. That journey is where we are. And you could see actually in the Newsnight poll, I was laughing earlier on the day because of course, I don't know whether, did you watch Newsnight last night? Well, those of you who watched it, and of course I was raging. I came in about the last 20 minutes, I thought, oh typical, they've got a piper. They're doing all the cliched Scottish stuff. They never bring out a Morris dancer, do they? No. They just always bring out the piper and all of that at the end. I thought, here we go, and it'll be set up. I couldn't believe it at the end. I kept watching vote going, well, more people are voting yes. It was an audience of don't knows. And more people, and in the end, 62% of the people voted yes. Of course, I turned around and went, this is a great idea to have. Completely changed my mind. That's a marvellous idea. But it actually showed, and all our statistics showed that when people engage in the arguments, when they actually find out, the travel is no to yes. There is practically no travel from yes to no. And that is a really, really interesting thing. Now, there also is the argument that gets thrown at us all the time, and that drives me crazy as well. Oh, you're just thinking with your heart. It's only about your heart, you know, you're just emotional, it's a brave heart mentality, it's all of that. And you're seen as some romantic Bonnie Prince Charlie type of person. I would like to say, I'm an intelligent person. This is my intellect and my intelligence that over 25 years has brought me to this position. And in honesty, it's my heart that fears. It's my heart that goes, will it be okay? Will it be all right? Well, it's a heart that doubts a wee bit sometimes. And to say that you've never had those doubts, but I can tell you, a woman asked the other day in the debate as well, she said, oh, I'm worried about my pensions. I'm worried about, you know, I'm a public service worker, how that's going to, can you guarantee? And I had to say, no, I'm not in government, but I don't think anybody can guarantee you that. But what I can guarantee you is, if we continue on the road we are, we will have a coalition government, either with the Tories or Labour, and the public services will be attacked, your pension will go down, and that the services that we hold dear in this country, because that's the question you have to ask, what does no really mean? And the No campaign are going to have to articulate very soon what no does mean. And no means no change, more of the same. And if you want your grandkids to go to university and be able to, from a working class background, to get their fees paid, don't vote no. If you want free prescriptions, and it's not just about what you can get, I mean, I'm sure Alec will correct me in this, but when I've asked about that, because if you are, you know, a high rate taxpayer or you've been lucky enough to be in that position, you do think, oh, maybe I should pay for my prescriptions. maybe I shouldn't get family allowance. And then you think, wait a minute, I pay for it at the other end. I pay for it there, and it means I invest in the system. It means that I'm part of the system that provides for everybody as well. And it means that I also, if you did decide to means test prescriptions, it would actually cost the government more to means test it than just give prescriptions out to people who actually need it. And that for me seems a much more sensible argument that never seems to get articulated. So for all these reasons, all the reasons Alec and Tommy have articulated so well tonight as well, the journey for me has been very similar to theirs, to this point where my heart and my head know that this is the right thing to do. That this for Scotland can, and don't get me wrong, I don't have any romantic notions that we're going to get it all right. We'll make mistakes. We'll get things wrong, but that's what being grown up is. If you are a grown up nation, taking decisions about your own future, yes, you will get things wonderfully right, but you'll get things wrong occasionally as well. But my God, we've been getting them wrong in the UK Westminster Parliament for a long, long time. So I am voting yes. I want to hear what you want to ask as well, and the questions that you have. I will be fighting as hard as anybody around this table, or anybody in this room, over the next year. What was really heartening, the guy I talked about for the East End the other day, said in Barrowfield, one of the poorest constituencies in Western Europe, in Barrowfield, there wasn't a no vote because they know what's at stake. And we have to look at the vested interests here. We have to look at the vested interests when they talk about it, when many of the senior Labour politicians are talking about job losses. It's their own job losses they're worried about. They're not worried about it, it's about their futures. And you have to understand, it's their families, it's their houses in London, it's all those things. There's a huge machine around in Scotland, the hegemony that ran everything through the Labour Party for many, many years. There's a big vested interest there, and they don't want to give it up. So this fight is not going to be all that clean all the time, and it's not going to be easy. When London wakes up properly to the fact that this is actually the breakup of the British state, they come out fighting. But what we have to offer is to go above that. We don't get in the ring with them. As I know there's a lot of frustration, but my opinion is you get in the ring, we lose because it's their ring. They devised it, they know the rules, and they want us to go in. We have to be out there with a message of hope, of change, and that there is something better out there for not only the people who need it the most, who are in my book the most important, but for everybody in Scotland, that we will no longer live in the fourth most unequal country on the planet. And that is a really, really important thing to fight for. So vote yes. Thank you.